In a world where quality business information is needed, we bring you On the Mic with Mike, the leading social enterprise business show in RVA. Join Mike King, the partnership guru, as he delivers game changers in Metro RVA. On the Mic with Mike showcases how business can help make society better. He discusses tech, culture, innovation, best business practices, and highlighting area nonprofits. Join Mike Monday through Friday, because it is the place where the best and brightest come to chat.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike. It is the premier business radio program around. I'm host Mike King. Appreciate you being here with me. The views expressed here are mine. I have no connection to, support, of agreement with any of the hosts, information, or ads on the station. I don't work for the station. My program just airs here on a daily basis. Join me as this cutting-edge show. We uplift the community and showcase RVA in a different way. The sounds you're listening to are coming from the Mike King Biz Studio, which is the global epicenter of social enterprise business, otherwise known as the palatial studios of ESPN Richmond. I'd like to thank our show sponsors, Tom Chody, the credit card guy, Andy Taylor, Junk Pluggers, Rob White, Fast Sides, Mom Michelle's Cafe, among others. Make sure you check out our sponsors and advertisers as we go along. But today, we brought a friend in the family back, one of our main sponsors, and we have to do the introductions correctly. So we have Anthony Romanello from Henrico Economic Development, and here we go.
The champ is here. The champ is here.
All right, Anthony Romanello from Henrico Economic Development. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Great to be with you, Mike. Thank you. Love the walk-up music.
Well, you know, you guys deserve it. Henrico Economic Development. We're going to start off. Give us the elevator pitch of who you guys are, and then we're going to talk about some of the wins. You always have some great information you bring, and also we'd always like to thank you for being a sponsor of the program. It helps us stay on the air and do what we do.
Well, you're doing a lot of good, Mike. So we're absolutely happy to be part of your team here at Mike King Biz. There's a lot going on right now in the economy in Henrico and the economy of our region. We have had some really good wins recently that I'm going to be really happy to talk with you about. And there's just a lot going on. You know, the economy is very strong, industrial, commercial, data centers. We are seeing a lot of activity right now. It's a really exciting time, and we've got a county that gets economic development. And so we're really doing what we can to make sure that we continue to grow and continue to try to bring up the tax base for Henrico.
One of the great things is not being from here. So I came to Richmond in 2014. I spent most of the time on the West End, from Willow Lawn on out. A lot of the business, a lot of things that I do, until I met you, but I didn't realize how strong the economic force is from the East End.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where Henrico pays its bills, because our industrial sector is mostly in Eastern Henrico, in and around the Richmond International Airport. That's where the White Oak Technology Park is. That's where those undersea cables that we've talked about before, Mike, where we've got the fastest internet connectivity in the world. All that is happening out there. That's our industrial tax base. The western part of the county, as you mentioned, that's where we have a lot of offices, our corporate headquarters, Fortune 1,000 companies that are headquartered out there. And I think that one of the great things about Henrico's economy is that it's so diverse. One time we'll bring you a manufacturing project, another time we'll bring you white collar, we might bring you logistics, distribution, data center. And so that really helps us protect us as a community when there is a downturn. And so what's happening in the West, what's happening in the East, it all contributes to the overall good of the community.
One of Mike Anthony Romanello, Henrico EDA is here. So a lot of time, like I said, I spend time on the West End, not really know. So my grandkids started playing basketball, and they're in the Verina League. Mm-hmm. Now, I never spent much time over there. It's kind of, I'm not going to call it rural, but it's a big difference.
It is. It really is.
And I didn't realize it. It's like, okay, so you ride 5 minutes, you're into like Sandston, but it's country out there.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful country out there. And the county is really focused on protecting it and making sure that it really has that rural flavor. And so development choices are made very, very carefully. And that's why you see most of the development in the central part of the county and the western part of the county. We will, as I mentioned, in certain areas, the Burnham Avenue corridor, the area around the airport, you will continue to see some industrial development, but far out in Varina, I think you're going to continue to see that it's going to maintain its rural flair. A lot of times you'll drive out there and say, wow, it doesn't feel like I'm in Henrico.
I didn't know where I was at. I had to stop when we were at not John Rolfe, it's one of the other middle schools. Mm-hmm. And I got to was it Laburnum. Mm-hmm. I didn't know which way to turn because I wasn't sure which way it was back to the city because it just seemed really rural out there.
Yeah. Well, and that whole Route 5 corridor that runs from downtown Richmond all the way to Williamsburg and beyond, it kind of runs along the Capitol Trail. It's just a beautiful area. And, Henrico is really focused on protecting it.
All right, on the mic with Mike, ESPN Richmond. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network. We're here ESPN 5 to 7 a.m. The Choice every day from 2 to 3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. We'd like to thank our good friends over at Henrico Economic Development for being one of the outstanding sponsors that we have. We haven't talked for a while. Let's put a wrap up on 2021. When we look back from a historical standpoint, what did 2021 look like?
Yeah, 2021 was a really good year for Henrico, a really good year for the region. We landed a number of really big wins. In fact, I'm going to talk about one in particular.
Here we go.
I brought something for you.
I always
brought something for you.
Because always.
So here's milk. You got to have.
Now I'm from Philly, milk. So we love Wawa.
You got to have some. You got to have some milk. And I brought you all different kinds of Oreos, including the 110th birthday special edition Oreo. Oreos are celebrating their 110th birthday on March the 6th.
Okay.
And I brought you all kinds. So here's your plain Oreos.
Okay, so that's the regular Oreos.
You got birthday cake Oreos. Let's see.
My grandkids, they're going to be.
You're going to be the grandfather of the year
this
weekend.
That's for sure.
So we got chocolate peanut butter pie Oreos. Mike, okay, these are all made on Laburnum Avenue.
So here we go.
Chocolate
now
marshmallow. I got two more.
Uh-oh.
You got Toffee Crunch Oreos. All this is for you, Mike. And one
no, I'm watching my figure. I'm trying to get ready for Speedo season.
I thought two thin, fit guys like us eating Oreos. What a great image for radio. And now we got chocolate hazelnut. But here's what I want to tell you. So last year, one of our 2021 announcements was Mondelez. Mondelez owns the Nabisco brands. They're on the Burnham Avenue. They've been there since about 1970. And they're doing $123 million expansion at that facility. It's the only bakery that they have now on the East Coast. So there's been a substantial investment in that bakery, new people and new money coming there. But one of the most special things is that's where the Olaf is. And I'm not talking about the little snowman from Frozen. I'm talking about the Oreo line of the future, or the Olaf. And when that is fully operational, they'll make 10,000 Oreos a minute. Right there on the Burnham Avenue in Henrico.
So I think that people don't really realize the impact of when they go by that building and they see that they're producing Oreo products for the world.
Oreos, Chips Ahoy, they make Ritz crackers, pretty much anything with a Nabisco brand on it is made in that facility. And we had a trifecta, Mike, of industrial announcements in Eastern Henrico. Another one was Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola Bottling is doing a $25 million expansion in Henrico. And what they're doing is they've just opened up what they call a blow mold line. So what used to happen was those 20-ounce bottles that we all drink Coke and Diet Coke from, those used to come in full size, and then they would fill them with Coke, and then they would leave. What happens now is they have technology where they're coming in and they're about the size of a test tube, about the size of your index finger. They put them through this blow mold, and then they leave full size filled with the drinks. But what's important about that is by shrinking the size of the bottles that are coming in, they've reduced their truck traffic by 60 trucks a week. So it's good for the environment and a major efficiency for them. And what a lot of people don't know is that Coca-Cola, we think about Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, they actually make over 300 different products, many of which are bottled right here in Henrico at the at the Richmond, their facility in Henrico.
Anthony Romanello, Henrico Economic Development is here. So we had on Jennifer Wakefield a couple weeks ago.
Good.
And we talked about like the recruiting process of getting, and I asked her what's happened. She says, COVID has sort of shrunk that. She said before it used to be months, maybe years. She said there are big times now that it may be up to 6 weeks. The person they're saying, hey, Richmond's the place. Let's go ahead and go there. When you look at it, you've talked about it in the past. What are some of the reasons that Henrico and the region is so popular with companies?
Mike King Biz is
well, I appreciate that. Yeah. But see, we talk about, I understand there's an obligation when you guys break news that whether it's, there's John or there's the governor, all those folks. But I like it when you come here and you talk about, all the great things, because there's some really cool things going on in this region.
There really are. I mean, I think what we've got here in the greater Richmond area is a real value proposition. And we know it because we live here. The housing stock is good. The schools are good. The neighborhoods are safe. You can get around the region. You can go anywhere in 15 to 20 minutes. And there aren't a lot of regions in the United States that can say that. And what we're finding now, Mike, is that, we tested the internet during the coronavirus and it worked.
And it didn't break.
And everybody in the world, if you're a knowledge worker, you can work from anywhere in the world as long as you have Wi-Fi. So why not work from Greater Richmond? And so our marketing now, and I'm sure Jennifer talked about this, we're not marketing to companies now so much as we're marketing to workers. Because if we get the workers, we're going to have the companies. Because right now it's all about getting good quality labor, getting the people that you need, whether they're going to come into your office or they're going to work from home or they're going to be on a hybrid basis. It's giving folks the opportunities that they want and going right after those workers.
On the mic with Mike, Anthony Romanello here, Henrico Economic Development. So let's talk about, so we're wrapping up Q1 going in. What are the initiatives for Q2, the rest of 2022?
Yeah, we've got 60 some active projects right now, industrial and commercial projects. So we'll have some announcements coming out.
So when you say project, you're talking about, as Jennifer would say, things in the pipeline.
Absolutely.
That you're trying to bring to a close.
We are, and when we say active, we mean that they could land somewhere in the next 6 months. So these are things that, and we're not going to get all of them. I wish we would. We're not going to get all of them, but these are real projects with bona fides that could land in Henrico, where we're very competitive for those. We just announced American Paper earlier this week. They're doing an expansion also in Eastern Henrico. They are a paper supplier, and they just recently picked up the paper supply contract for McDonald's. So they're going to be substantially expanding their offerings. What we're focusing on right now going forward is, a lot of things, Mike, but one of the big ones is we just put out a video on our internet infrastructure. We've now distilled it down to a 3-minute video, and we've been pushing that out. We've got a webinar coming up in March with some of the industry experts to talk about just how important this high-speed internet connectivity is to all businesses. And data centers are great. We love them, but this isn't about technology businesses. This is about all businesses, because every business now is in the technology business. And what this high-speed connectivity means for folks who are trying to do business over the internet, which is every company in the world practically. And it's going to be a real differentiator for Henrico and for our region. So we're focused on that. We're focused a lot on our small businesses, on our SWAM businesses, trying to make sure that we continue to support them as they emerge out of the pandemic, and continuing to work to update our marketing efforts so that we're aligned with what the Greater Richmond Partnership is doing, with what Jack Berry's doing at Richmond Region Tourism, and really telling our story to the decision makers, the CEOs and the site selectors out there who are looking for places to locate their companies.
What has the pandemic done to the sales process, if you will, to go from hi, we're Richmond, and as Jennifer says, we're Richmond, Virginia, because there has to be that differentiation because there's so many Richmonds in the world.
Right.
What's the process? You guys talk to them and to the point where there's an announcement meant to be made.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big changes, we're not traveling as much as we used to, and we're going to resume some face-to-face traveling here as we go into the spring and as the Omicron slowly dies down. So we're doing a whole lot more electronically. We've had to adjust our materials to make sure that they are more meaningful, because they were really geared more towards face-to-face type interactions, complete overhaul of our website. Because what we know, and this is what Jennifer was saying in terms of speeding up the process, by the time someone calls us and says, I'm thinking about Henrico, they've done a lot of research.
And that's different than the past.
It really is different. I mean, they have truly shortlisted. And by the time they're talking to us, they probably have less than 5 that they're seriously considering. And so we're going to try to get them all the information that they need to make sure they can make the best decision for their company. So I think what's changed as a result of the pandemic, it's how we interact with companies, and then things are moving faster.
When you look at the others that you're on the short list, do they resemble Richmond, or sometimes they're big cities, or sometimes they're more rural areas, or for the most part, are they the same size sort of feel as Richmond has?
It's a real mixed bag, Mike, who we compete with. It depends on the nature of the project. For life sciences projects, we're competing with Research Triangle, Boston. We're competing with West Coast. For industrial projects, we might be competing with some other locations in Virginia. A lot of companies, we might be competing for, if they're doing an expansion, we might be competing because they're already in another state and they're looking at expanding in that state, or thinking of coming to Virginia or specifically to Henrico. So it's really hard to say that, this is our competitor, and point to one city. It depends on the project, and it really depends on the company. What we're focusing on and working with our regional partners is to make sure that we're telling that story about what differentiates Greater Richmond, so that folks know the value proposition that, it's a great place to live, and that's going to mean a lot for your workers.
On the mic with Mike, ESPN Richmond. That's where Anthony Romanello is here. We always like to thank him for sponsoring the program. So you talk about the recruitment of new businesses, but you guys really have boots on the ground, really helping the ones who are here. Let's talk about some of the initiatives that you guys have going on as far as helping the small business period, ones who are here, helping them thrive.
Yeah, we have a number of things going on in that regard. One that we're particularly proud of is that last year, the Board of Supervisors approved the Henrico Improvement Program, or what we call HIP zones. And HIP zones are in 5 locations throughout the county, and they're in some of our aging commercial corridors. And they're a lot like the Enterprise Zone program, where there's some additional financial benefits for folks who are investing in those areas to try to turn around properties, to try to get those back on track. So we're really excited about that. We've been doing some direct outreach, working with my friend and colleague Jeff Conley, who some direct outreach with Jeff through the county SWAM program, through the state small business development folks, and trying to do what we can to get small and women and minority-owned businesses into the state system. I should have mentioned American Paper, which just announced their expansion. They're a SWAM business. Their CEO is Lydia Work. She's out of Washington State. So that was a SWAM business that just expanded in Henrico. So we're a whole lot more intentional, and we're trying to reach out. We've been supporting Irvin Clark and the Central Virginia African American Chamber of Commerce. He's doing the Black Business Accelerator program, which is open now for classes. You can check out their website or ours and launch into those classes for folks who are trying to accelerate their small businesses. And working really well also with the folks at Activation Capital, the Virginia Biotech Research Park, in trying to help entrepreneurial businesses continue to grow. And then another initiative that we have that we're focusing on a lot, we just talked to the Board of Supervisors about, is trying to help bring more lab space to the area. There's tremendous demand for research and development. And we want to make sure that folks know that Henrico is a place where they can come and build that lab space and be successful.
On the mic with Mike, Anthony Romanello, Henrico EDA is here. The HIP zone, that's pretty interesting. Maybe one show we could dedicate the show to that right there, because I think our listeners would find that interesting to figure out exactly what those zones are, where they are, and giving people an idea of what's happening.
Happy to do that. My colleague Eric Lebo, who runs the county's Department of Community Revitalization, I'll bring him along. His department runs that program. They also run the Enterprise Zone program they're really committed to working with all businesses, particularly small businesses in those zones. We're really the first in Virginia to do something like that. There's a similar zone in Fairfax, but it's a totally different approach. It's targeted more towards big businesses. So we're really proud to take this state legislation and do something to try to help small businesses, particularly in areas that are struggling.
Alrighty, industries that people would be shocked that are in Henrico, coming to Henrico. Anything popping up in mind?
Well, I don't know that they'd be shocked. I mean, just like we talk about Oreos and Chips Ahoy, a lot of people may not realize that, Fariva makes Tylenol. They make chapstick right here in Henrico. Allianz Insurance is headquartered in Henrico. You may not know the name, but if you bought travel insurance in the last 10 years, you bought it from Allianz Insurance. And for any trip that you might have taken, getting more and more exciting restaurants. The whole restaurant scene in RVA generally and in Henrico is getting really good. You could probably go every day for a year and not hit all the great restaurants, Mike. And I think too, a lot of what's happening in the eastern part of the county, again, with the internet infrastructure, which doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but is so critical. And we're going to see more and more there. Facebook is finishing up their second phase of their $2 billion investment. Our friends at QTS, which is another data center operator there in the process of expanding their facilities. So there's just a lot going on. It's a really good time right now.
Alrighty, so on the mic with Mike here with Anthony Romanello, Henrico Economic Development. Spent a lot of time on recruiting new businesses. How much time do you guys spend fighting off poachers, people trying to get business from Henrico?
Not a lot. I'll tell you, we have a lady and gentleman's agreement in the greater Richmond area that we don't poach from one jurisdiction to the other.
Folks from other places, when you hear that somebody's trying to recruit to take business and industry from Henrico, does that happen much?
It really doesn't happen much. What we've seen during the pandemic is certainly there's been a lot of consolidation, particularly with office space. And so we have seen some movement, and folks are moving away from rented space to space they own because they've got some hybrid workers or they've got people that can work from home. So we've certainly seen that impact in Western Henrico, but we really don't have a whole lot of poaching. I think it's more driven by the needs of the corporation than it might be one city or town from somewhere else outside of Virginia trying to pull people from.
Because that's what I see when we say, there's a big announcement, Henrico just got, this company's coming in and they're going to bring in 5,000 workers. Those 5,000 workers came from somewhere else. So that other area just lost whatever that was, possibly, and now it's coming to Henrico.
There is some of that. I mean, a lot of the jobs are also, they're organic and they might be new to the company. So there is, there definitely is a mix of that. But you're right. I mean, there are some companies that as they consolidate and they might be, so one part of the country might lose jobs and our part of the country might pick up jobs or elsewhere. So part of it is, part of the intelligence that we're doing is with our companies that are multinational companies or have presence, outside of Virginia, outside of Henrico. We're making sure that we're plugged into what they're doing in their other locations.
On the mic with Mike, Anthony Romanello is here. And when we talk about Henrico, this is what we're talking about. And we'd like to thank you guys for being a part of On the Mic with Mike.
Mike King says,
that's for Henrico. That's the walk-up music for whenever Henrico gets introduced. That's what we're going to do from now on.
Oh, that's funny.
So on the mic with Mike, Anthony is here with us. We'd like to thank you for coming in. How can people find Henrico and get the services that you guys are offering out there?
Henrico.com. Check us out. All of our phone numbers, emails are on there, and please reach out.
All right. On the mic with Mike, I'd like to thank you for coming in. The best business radio program around. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks now. Take care.
Thank you, Mike.